If you're a musician in 2026 and you're not using social media correctly, you're basically invisible. The artists that are blowing up right now aren't necessarily the ones with the best music or the most talent. They're the ones who understand how these platforms actually work. In this video, I'm going to answer the biggest questions that musicians have about social media, why you actually need it, and how to use it without wasting your time. Let me start by explaining what's changed in the music industry and why social media isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's literally the difference between having a passion project and having a sustainable music career. Social media is now the place that the label and the music industry is going to start when it comes to vetting an artist. This is a primary avenue by which regular people, civilians, find music now. It's how we're introduced to so much new music. And now through social media, we have this rise in artists that would have never had the access and exposure to the number of people 10 years ago that they have now. And that's hugely important. And so the music industry is leveraging that. If your stage presence is a show, then your social media has to be an extension of that show. If that's the place that you perform your songs, then social media has to be another extension of where you're performing your songs and your music. This is an incredible opportunity to connect with a real audience without ever having left the house. Now, let's look at some of the most common questions that I get asked about this. How are artists actually getting discovered in 2025 compared to 10 years ago? 10 years ago, there was no TikTok yet. TikTok came out in 2017 and it was introduced into the US in 2018 where it really took off. So that means that music internet culture had kind of disappeared since MySpace. That was a time in which MySpace is impacting mainstream culture and mainstream music by what was surfacing on that platform, which is really friggin' cool if you think about it. So here we are and fast forward to 2015 and internet music culture hasn't really shifted that much. It hasn't really had the place for it to go. Now, artists are being discovered on social media first. And if you somehow get lucky and find someone in person before finding them in social, the very next place that the record label is going to go is to the social media account to see what you're doing. So what happened to the old model of getting signed and why doesn't it work anymore? Labels lost their monopoly. You don't need a label for studio time now the way you used to. You don't need the label for distribution and getting your music out there. Those gatekeepers don't really exist the same way. You can record at home, you can upload yourself, and you can reach the world yourself. With the way that algorithms have shaped the world now, discovery is found via the algorithm. TikTok, Reels, Shorts, Spotify playlists, these are the places that you're finding your break because of your accessibility to the world. And so labels ultimately end up chasing what's already going viral instead of discovering the unknowns now. Old deals are also exposed as bad math. You, as an artist, now understand your contract better in a way that didn't used to exist, and the trade-off just doesn't have the same, curb appeal that it used to. And lastly, there was just a big mindset flip. I remember from my childhood, it was getting signed. That was it. As a teenager up and coming, I wanted to get signed, because that meant that a label believed in me, was gonna pump money into me and make me famous. Where now it's not the same thing. It's basically, if I'm already doing well, then they're only gonna add fuel to my fire. I don't need them to make the fire for me. I am the fire, they're only gonna add to it. But if the deal is bad, it's just gonna put me in handcuffs, and so there's no good reason. Why is building your own audience the smartest move to make right now? You want to own your audience because you don't want it to be dependent on someone else. If you build it and establish it now, you'll develop those roots and have those fans for a long time. You're going to be able to diversify where your audiences are, whether that's on streaming platforms or social media or YouTube. You're going to have audiences in different places that you're feeding different types of content that you can grow and nurture for a long time. What's the difference between having 50,000 followers versus just having streams on Spotify? Well, having 50,000 followers doesn't mean you're going to get plays on your Spotify, and having a Spotify doesn't mean people are going to follow you. So it's a give take. You've got to be posting your music to your social media, and you've got to be pointing to your Spotify so that people can find that music. Social media is going to be your feeder. Spotify is where they're going to land. It's where they're going to live. And so having 50,000 followers could mean absolutely no money. Having streams on Spotify could still also mean no money, but at least the whole purpose of what your social media serves is happening in real time on Spotify. How does owning your audience give you actual leverage in the music industry? Owning your audience means that you're showing up to the bank with money in the account. You're not showing up to the bank asking for money. You've already got the thing that the label wants. You've got the people who are the fans who are buying the music. and they want a cut of that pie, right? They want a few of your dollars. And so you've got that leverage. You've got exactly what they're trying to get to. And so if you now own your own audience and they're not the ones who get to benefit from building your audience for you and with you, then you have a lot more leverage in saying, you know, what your contract will and won't do, what you can and can't make, will or won't make. Basically, it's endless. And so owning it is absolutely imperative. And that's why developing your social media is so imperative. If you develop your social media, you develop your audience, and that in turn develops your relationship with the music industry. This is you setting the stage for getting to the label rather than hoping the label helps set the stage for you. In both of those scenarios, the other is in control, and you don't want someone else to be in control of your future and career and destiny in music. What opportunities open up when you have a proven audience before approaching anyone? There's so many opportunities here. You can be found by other artists who have, made it, who can bring you on to open for them. You can be selling merch, selling records. You can be being booked for private events. You can be booked for bigger shows than what you would have without. And so this is what an audience is actually doing without you having to go to a label and, asking for help. How much does it cost to reach millions of people on social media versus traditional marketing? You can reach 1 million people on your own without ever leaving the house with nothing but your phone and your music. You can absolutely do that. Why does social media give you more control over your music career than waiting for gatekeepers? Again, if you've got a big social media following, you're in a scenario where you can go book the shows yourself. You don't have to wait for anyone. You can do everything on your own. You can go and build a following, make some money, get your record made, record your record by yourself without help, hire the producers, everything. You can do it all yourself. Book the shows, play the songs from the record you just recorded and released. You have a megaphone, in your pocket at all times that can reach the entire world. This difference is, again, not having to wait for someone who you hope likes your stuff. This is you going out and making it happen because you have that ability to. It's a lot of work, but you can do it. What happens to musicians who have great music but zero social presence? They're basically non-existent. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth, is that they basically just don't exist. Social is how people know you. It is just the way of the world now. And so if you want to be known, you've got to be on socials. How has the power dynamic shifted from labels choosing you to having options? So let's say that you walk into a record label and they're wanting to, talk a deal. If you walk in and you've got 5,000 followers, you don't have much leverage. You do have some, because it's worth saying, hey, I've got this, I can grow this. I'm not nothing, I'm building. So, give it time and I'll grow it. Would you like to join me on this growth process? If you walk in with 1 million followers or 1 million subs, you can say, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to meet, thanks. You can make calls and get labels to come to you rather than you trying to make labels happen at all. And so it goes from this power shift and power imbalance of you hoping for some to you having all of it and being willing to give them some instead. That's everything. All right, so you understand why you need social media. Now let me tell you exactly how to use it so you're not just throwing content into the void and hoping something sticks. Start sharing cover songs. I know this sounds crazy and maybe it's something you don't want to do, but people don't really like new music the way they say they do. We like familiar. And the only time you're really gonna find new music is when it's recommended by a trusted source, like a playlist that you already like, or from a friend or family member that knows your taste in music. But for the most part, we don't really seek out or want new music. And so we've got to find ways to essentially trick people into listening to our music. So take whatever your style is, whatever that thing might be, and I want you to cover popular songs with it. So whatever popular songs that are on Spotify right now, go cover those in your style. Because if you do it in your style as well, you're going to start seeing new people who are coming in because they like your cover of Hotel California, especially if you do it in your version. And so if you've got options of songs for them to listen to in your version, in your take on it, they're going to eventually get to your actual song and connect with it more likely because they've now connected to the music that they know and love through your rendition. And so you're just teeing them up. When you write it, it's for you. When you record it, it's for you. When you share it, it stops being yours and you give it away. That's how social media is. You make something for you, but you give it away to the audience. So why don't you make something for the audience in mind when you start the creation process? You like doing classic rock, great. Make that classic rock cover in your take so that when they get to your music, they're primed for it. Don't just hope that they like the connection, but instead get them there by giving them what they want and make that content with them in mind. Questions: where to post? Which platform should musicians actually focus on if they can only choose one? I'm suggesting YouTube every time. I understand the desire and impulse to go to TikTok, but YouTube is OG. It's been around since 2006. Knowing how much more longevity there is in YouTube and the way that users watch and the retention time and overall, I just say YouTube is the way to go. And you can make a lot more money on YouTube than you can on TikTok. So TikTok is great, but if I had to choose one, I'm going to YouTube first. What makes YouTube different from TikTok and Instagram for musicians specifically? Well, YouTube is a library where TikTok and Instagram, they're more like a lottery. With YouTube videos, they'll live on for years in search and recommendations, where TikTok posts will spike and die. Same for Instagram, very short shelf life. YouTube's intent is very different. There's an actual intent. TikTok and Instagram, it's to scroll. On YouTube, you're gonna see people that are coming for music and tutorials. They're gonna consume more for longer. YouTube equals real money. TikTok and Instagram are both more like promos. YouTube can pay you directly and consistently. TikTok and Instagram will help you get seen, but you're gonna make money somewhere else. You're not gonna depend on the rev share from TikTok and Instagram the way you can with YouTube. For YouTube, you're gonna get full songs and stories. You can upload a video of how you made the song and it'd be 2 hours long. YouTube is gonna build that long-term high value fan, and TikTok and Instagram, they're gonna build awareness that you need to push you somewhere deeper, but that's usually YouTube or your own platform. So you wanna go back to YouTube. Should you be posting on all three platforms or just master one first? It depends on what your results are. If you're posting everywhere and getting no results, then focus on the one. You don't have to become a master of it, but get good at it. Build it, and then look at what you can do to explore. What should musicians actually be posting to get traction? I said this earlier, I'll say it again, post cover songs. This is such a good way to get people in the door and find out about what you're doing. Post making of content. This is such a good one as well, because I may not be into the band, but I'm curious about what's going on behind the scenes. And then create fun, unique music videos. They do not have to be high production. You can do it with an iPhone and nothing else. Just be creative, and you introduce them to the chorus of your song. Well, if you do a music video in 20 locations and it's just the chorus every time, you're gonna get really good at performing the chorus, and you're gonna have 20 different clips that you can use just for that. You piece them all together, whatever you wanna do, but you're going to introduce people to new music in a very visually, stimulating way. Should you be posting full songs or just short clips? Instagram and TikTok, definitely just clips. Just a chorus and a bridge. On YouTube, give them the whole song if you want. I think it also makes sense to do one of a verse, one of a chorus, one of a bridge, and so on. What's the biggest mistake musicians make when deciding what to post? I think the biggest mistake you can make is not posting. You've got to be recent, you've got to be fresh, you've got to be in front of your fans at all times. It's hard, but it's part of what the grind is and what the job is. So post constantly, figure it out, make it work. That's what I'm here for. I want to help with this. What needs to happen in the first 3 seconds of every video you post? I need your hook. I need whatever that hook is. I need your hook, and for you to pull me in to connect me with your music or who you are as an artist. Why does introducing yourself at the start kill your video immediately? Because I don't know you and I don't care. And it's not that I don't care about you, it's that I don't have a reason to care about you yet. You haven't earned my attention yet. So don't introduce yourself, it doesn't matter yet. How do you hook someone who's never heard of you before? Get really clever in your hook. Find the visual hook to get them there, and then keep the edits fast so that when they start to lose attention, you shift gears before they lose attention and scroll away. Should you show the payoff immediately or build up to it? I think you can go either way, but if you're gonna build up to it very quickly. You can also show them a piece of the payoff, then go back to the build and lead to the ultimate payoff. But showing a payoff up front, it works. People want to see it. If they like the payoff enough, if it's a good enough payoff, they'll watch the story of what happened that got you there. What makes people scroll past your video versus stop and watch? Very plainly, your ability to stop them and make them watch. If I walk past you on the street, you reach out your hand and say, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? I'm gonna walk past you. I do not want to talk to you. But if I walk past you and you're juggling flaming tacos, tacos on fire, I'm gonna stop and watch. Earn that right. That's what will make people stop and watch versus scroll on. How often should musicians actually be posting to see real growth? I would say multiple times a week. If you're really pursuing growth, I would be aggressive. I'd say 3 is a minimum, but 4 is where you want to hang. That way you're more often than not during the week. But if you're serious and you're asking the question, real growth, then I would say you need to be posting 5 times a week. That's a lot, but you're asking about growth. And one of the ways that you can grow on social is by feeding the platforms. So feed it. Is posting every day necessary, or is 2 to 3 times a week enough? 2 times a week is not enough. 3 times is technically every other day. That's enough. But I would still, like I said, 4 I think is the sweet spot so that you can post more than every other day. How do you stay consistent when you're not seeing results immediately? Forget that results happen immediately, because they don't. Stop telling yourself you're gonna get them immediately. You're not going to. If you do, the platform is likely baiting you into it, through classic gamification to keep you on. If you don't know why you're not seeing results, it means you don't know how to create results yet. So stick around, keep learning, keep growing, keep posting. It's gonna take time. The first song you ever wrote was not good. The first post you ever made was not good. You had to keep going to get good at it. So stick around and it just becomes part of the daily. How long does it take to realistically see traction if you're doing it right? This is an ambiguous question. What is traction? You get to decide what traction is, what you're satisfied in what traction is. What is right? How long does it take to really start seeing growth after posting every single day? Probably 3 months. And that's just posting every day. That's not even necessarily posting good content. If you're doing it right, 45 days maybe, but it just depends on what your goal is. At the end of the day, that's really what matters, because whatever your goal is dictates whatever your approach is. So figure out your goal, then you can figure out your approach. What should you do when a video flops instead of just moving on? You should figure out why it flops based on the data and fix it. Fix the one thing, don't fix everything. Fix one piece of it and then remake it. How do you know what part of your video made people leave? Go into your data and your insights, look at where it drops off, and go back to the video at that moment and figure out what happened there. If you can't figure it out, ask someone else, ask a friend, someone who'll be honest with you. Say, why is this part boring? What is it that you don't like about this part? What's happening here that I'm not seeing? That drop is how you know why people left. Look for the drop in your retention. Should you repost the same idea with small changes or create something new? Yes. If you've only posted the one time, you don't know if it doesn't work, so you should repost it with the update. How many times should you test the same concept before giving up on it? I would say 3 to 4 is pretty normal. My favorite number is 6. Post something 6 times and you'll know. Where do you look in your analytics to see what's actually working? Retention. If there's a spike, it's working. If it's steady straight across, that's working. Your retention is what ultimately across all the platforms matter. They all want to see shares and replays and rewatches, of course, but ultimately the foundation of it is just how long did they watch? What's your average view duration? What's your retention time? Can you keep people through the whole piece? That in your analytics is what's actually working. Not likes, not comments, retention. What's one variable you should change when testing different versions? Start with your hook. If you've got a really good hook, then figure out if there's a way to loop the video at the end. Figure out if there's a way to cut the fat. Are there things that you're saying that aren't moving the story along? But it's more important to look at where the dip is and figure out why that dipped and then change that part rather than always going to the hook, because it might be a good hook. Why do most viral videos succeed on version 3 or 4 instead of version 1? Because they went to the data and they learned why it wasn't working. Every platform gives you data so that you can know why your stuff works and doesn't work so that you can get better. It is there to assist you, not to tease you or mock you. That's how you can make it succeed on the 3rd and 4th time. That's how you go viral on the 6th time, because you kept iterating based on the data. If you found this valuable, hit the subscribe button, as I'll be dropping more sauce on how to grow as an artist on social media. And if you want extra help, click the link down below for more in-depth help on growing on social media as a musician. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.